So in the dim, echoing confines of Ironwood Correctional Facility, a single moment shattered the silence like a gunshot. A hulking prisoner, his tattooed arms straining against the orange jumpsuit, lunged forward with a snarl, his hands clawing at the crisp blue uniform of Officer Lena Hart. The fabric tore with a sickening rip, exposing her chest, and what he saw stopped every heartbeat in the room. A jagged tattoo of an eagle, wings spread over a Marine Corps emblem, stared back at him, its ink etched deep into her skin. The jail froze, guards and inmates alike gaping in stunned disbelief, as if time itself had bent under the weight of the revelation. What no one knew, not the guards, not the prisoners, not even Lena herself, was that this single act would unravel a secret buried for over a decade, one that would turn a routine confrontation into a battle for redemption. Officer Lena Hart stood at the center of the chaos, her breath ragged, her hazel eyes blazing with a mix of fury and shock. At 34, she was a figure of quiet authority in Ironwood, her uniform pressed, her posture rigid, a testament to years of discipline. But beneath the badge and the badge's weight lay a woman haunted by a past she'd buried deep. The inmates called her Ice, a nickname born of her steely resolve, but today that resolve was cracking. The prisoner, a wiry man named Jax Cutler, with a rap sheet longer than the cell block, had been mouthing off all morning, his voice a grating challenge to her authority. She'd handled it with her usual calm, until he'd crossed the line, lunging at her in a fit of rage. Now, as the torn shirt hung loose, revealing the tattoo, the air thickened with tension, a storm brewing in the steel, barred cage.
Ta-ta.
The guards rushed forward, their boots thudding against the concrete, but Lena raised a hand, halting them. Her mind raced. That tattoo wasn't just ink, it was a map to her past, a mark she'd earned during her time as a Marine. A chapter she'd closed when she left the service after a mission gone wrong. She'd joined the police force to escape the ghosts, to rebuild, but now they were clawing their way back. Jack stumbled back, his bravado fading as he stared at the emblem, recognition flickering in his bloodshot eyes. The other inmates muttered, their voices a low hum, while the older guard, Sergeant Malone, a grizzled veteran with a beard like steel wool, narrowed his eyes, sensing something bigger at play. Tata Lena's heart pounded as she straightened, clutching the torn fabric to her chest. She'd always been underestimated, first as a woman in the Marines, then as a rookie cop in a male-dominated precinct. Her superiors saw her as competent but unremarkable, a by-the book officer who'd never make waves. Even Jax had sneered at her earlier, calling her a paper soldier, before the altercation. But now, as the tattoo gleamed under the fluorescent lights, a memory stirred in Malone's mind. He'd served in the same unit as Lena years ago, during a covert op in Afghanistan that ended in disaster. She'd been the one to pull him from a burning Humvee, her hands steady even as shrapnel tore through the air. He'd never forgotten, but she'd vanished after, her name scrubbed from the records. Ta-da! The tension escalated as Jax, regaining his composure, spat on the ground. You think that tattoo makes you tough, huh? I've seen tougher ink on a bar napkin. His words were a challenge, but his voice wavered, betraying a flicker of fear. Lena's jaw tightened. She knew this wasn't just about the shirt. It was about respect, about proving she belonged. The other inmates circled closer, their orange jumpsuits a blur of movement, while the guards formed a tense perimeter. Inside, Lena waged a silent war. Doubt gnawed at her. Had she lost her edge? Had the years of paperwork and patrol dulled the warrior she once was? But then she felt it, a surge of the old fire, the instinct that had saved lives in the desert. Ta-ta. Without warning, Jax lunged again, this time aiming to overpower her. The room erupted into shouts as Lena sidestepped, her training kicking in. She twisted his arm behind his back, slamming him against the bars with a force that echoed through the block. The inmates fell silent, their eyes wide as she held him there, her breath steady despite the adrenaline. Malone stepped forward, his voice low. Stand down, Cutler. You just picked a fight with a ghost. The words hung heavy, and for the first time, Jax looked scared. Lena released him, stepping back, her torn shirt a badge of her resilience. But the real battle was just beginning. Our word of the incident spread like wildfire through Ironwood. In the days that followed, whispers turned to rumors. Some said Lena was a war hero. Others claimed she'd deserted. The tattoo became a symbol, a mystery that fueled the inmates' curiosity and the guards' respect. Lena, however, retreated into herself, haunted by the mission that had defined her tattoo. It had been a night raid, a mission to extract a high-value target when an IED flipped their convoy. She dragged 3 men to safety, including Malone, but the target was lost, and the blame fell on her. Discharged with honors she didn't feel she deserved, she'd fled to Ironwood, hoping to bury the shame. Now, with her past exposed, she faced a choice: hide or fight. The turning point came a week later, during a routine cell inspection. Jax, still simmering with resentment, orchestrated a small riot, using makeshift weapons to overpower a guard. The block descended into chaos, inmates clashing with staff, the air thick with shouts and the clang of metal. Lena, caught in the fray, saw a young guard pinned beneath a table, blood trickling from his head. Without hesitation, she charged in, her movements fluid and precise, disarming an inmate with a single strike. As she helped the guard to safety, she noticed Jax watching, his expression shifting from defiance to something like awe. But the real twist came when Malone pulled her aside after the riot. His hands trembled as he handed her a faded photo, a snapshot of their unit, her face younger, fiercer, standing beside the target she'd failed to save. "That man," Malone said, his voice breaking, "was my brother. You didn't fail, Lena. He told me to run, to let him go. You saved me instead." The revelation hit her like a punch. The mission's failure, the guilt she'd carried, had been built on a lie. Tears stung her eyes as she realized her strength had always been there, misjudged by herself most of all. In the weeks that followed, Lena's authority solidified. She trained the guards, sharing the tactics that had kept her alive in combat, turning Ironwood into a tighter ship. Jax, humbled by her actions, approached her one day, offering a grudging apology. She accepted, seeing in him a chance for redemption, much like her own. The tattoo, once a source of shame, became a symbol of her resilience, a story told in hushed tones among the inmates. On November 16, 2025, as the sun set over the prison, Lena stood on the yard, her uniform repaired, her head high. She'd reclaimed her past, not as a ghost, but as a leader. As the credits roll on this gripping tale, we invite you to reflect: what secrets do our heroes carry, and how do they shape who we become? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did Lena's strength inspire you? Like this cinematic journey if it moved you. Share it with friends who love a good redemption arc, and subscribe for more stories that bring justice and courage to life. Hit that bell so you never miss a moment of the drama! Ta-da!